Social media is any website or application that enables users to create and share content or to participate in social networking. It's free, addicting, easily accessible, and ingrained into our culture. The American Psychological Association found that 66% of children 8 to 18 own their own cell phone. All of these children are capable of joining social media sites and will have access to these webs of content and people virtually anytime and anywhere. As we begin to learn more about the positive and negative effects of social media, should we consider banning children under 16 from social media altogether?
Hi, I'm Luke.
I'm Cam.
I'm T.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Tucker, and our group name is For the Kids.
So as you saw in the first clip, social media is more accessible than ever. Each of us researched different aspects of social media and banning it, so we could develop a better overall understanding of the topic as a group. I researched the effects of social media on educational losses and what would be given up if we did ban it.
I researched cyberbullying and how it's connected to social media.
I researched addiction and how it is related to habit forming.
I looked at psychological impacts of social media and how it affects mental health.
I looked at the cycle of bullying and how social media is ingrained into our culture.
And after reviewing all the research, as a group we decided that social media should be banned for children under 16.
Those who have social media are more susceptible to being involved with cyberbullying, whether they're the ones getting bullied or the ones targeting others. The article Bullying and Cyberbullying by Susan Ladka says that victims as young as 8 have taken their lives after being harassed by mean-spirited rumors and personal attacks posted on social media sites. It's no question that cyberbullying is directly connected to social media. However, would banning social media from youth prevent bullying altogether? Their stats show that as cyberbullying increases in schools, bullying decreased. However, those who are getting bullied online have proven more likely to cause violence in schools. We believe that violence would be caused in schools either way. However, the schools would have a better chance to intervene if bullying is happening on their campuses. These are the stats from a survey done with 588 male and female students in 7th or 8th grade from both urban and suburban schools. The results show that not all students know the repercussions of their actions.
A study done by Dr. Taha Shakir of Emory College asked 300 teens aged 13 through 18 about bullying on social media. 86% of aggressors were at one point bullied, and even though 40% of respondents were bullied, only 8% wanted to quit social media. I think that this suggests that there's no outlet included in social media when it comes to letting out anger or frustration when getting bullied, so kids feel the need to take it out on others, creating a cycle of bullying. The fact that social media is so ingrained into our culture furthers this cycle by kids feeling that they need to have social media in order to keep up with their peers. Here's an example of how social media can be a source of bullying.
Oh, Luke Snapchatted me.
Okay, so social media is heavily related to addiction and habit forming. So the earlier that we start depending on social media, the quicker our brain is going to start rewarding itself for this social and personal behavior that we exhibit online. So addiction to media is actually more prominent in children because children are in their preoccupational stage, which is their egocentric stage. And essentially, egocentric means that you don't disassociate yourself from other perspectives. So they are more predisposed to being addicted to media. Another interesting stat is that from 2007 to 2008, Facebook's usage grew 566%, and it was directly stated that this was somehow related to egocentrism, or it promoted it. So there are actually 6 parts to substance abuse and substance addiction that can be directly related to social media. So the 6 are mood modification, salience, tolerance, withdrawal symptoms, conflict, and relapse. So when we think of mood modification, we can consider our engagement in social media and how that impacts how we feel. Salience, it's been shown that we have exhibited behavioral, cognitive, and different emotional states due to our reliance on it. Tolerance, we tend to have increased usage over time because you start becoming less intolerant to less usage. And withdrawal, such as when Heather says, take some freedom from your phones in class, we kind of exhibit this weird state of not liking that. Conflict, so there's interpersonal and intrapsychic problems that we have in terms of communication and not being able to communicate with others because we are so used to using our phone. And then relapse, so when we get our phone back, we're automatically on it. And these are some of the symptoms of addiction that children are actually exhibiting due to their egocentrism.
So looking at the psychological impacts of social media usage, a study was conducted back in 2013 by Jaman Paul at Kent West State University in Atlanta, and it studied business students at a large-scale university and looked to examine the effects of online social networking and social media usage along with academic performance. And the results revealed a significantly high relationship between time spent on students using online social networks and worse academic performance. And it also saw that time spent online also looked at attention spans, and that students who had more time spent online also had a decreased attention span. And so also the internet obviously connects people around the world, so it also affects people around the world. So internet addiction also occurs in different places. So the Indian Journal of Health and Wellbeing also decided to look at the psychological correlations between internet addiction with college students. And they determined that college students are an extremely vulnerable group of people to problematic internet usage. And a descriptive study was used, and they looked at how the use of internet addiction correlates to stress, anxiety, and depression. And the data was analyzed using correlational analysis and compared the relationship of internet addiction and how it related to people who had depression, anxiety, and stress. And it revealed that people who spent more time on social media networks had a more increased chance of having anxiety, stress, or depression. And so how does this relate to us? So be aware. So a lot of the time, social media only paints one side of a story. So for example, on my social media page right here, you see like going to concerts and like all these fun times, but you don't see all the stress that may occur with homework and assignments that we have in a daily life as a college student. And then what you should take away from this is that while there is for the most part, some correlation between internet usage and having mental disorders, it's not to say that that could occur to you, but that's also to be mindful of consumption of social media usage because we live in a day and age where we spend a lot of our time on digital networks.
So if we do go ahead and ban social media for children under 16, there will be losses that are incurred by doing so. And one of these losses is going to be a big portion of losses will be within education. So social media has provided like a new way for learning to happen within schools and colleges, but it provides what they call an enriched learning experience. So an example of this would be for say like a history teacher assigns their kids to go on to a website or social media or something and look for an article that would relate to something they're learning. So they're talking about like the Cold War, for example. George H.W. Bush just died, and they could talk about what he did preventing the Cold War while he was in his presidency, but they'd be sharing it with each other, the students. So instead of it being like a one-way learning of information where it's always the teacher talking to the student, social media provides an enriched learning experience where they're teaching each other more and they're talking about active things within the world today. So without social media in the classroom, you won't be able to do something like that, and we'll be more stuck with the traditional way of the teachers as always being lecturing to the students one way and it's not as interactive. Besides educational losses, there's also going to be lost financial opportunities for children. And I'm going to show a brief video of a kid that's 12 years old. Well, he was 12 years old when he was discovered. His name's Kid of the Great, and he's a dancer on Instagram.
Yeah. Weezy out of here. The dash is digi, the schedule busy. My head in a hoodie, my shorty a goodie. My cousins are crazy, my cousins like Boogie. Life is amazing, it is what it should be. Been here for 10, but I feel like a rookie. I tell her look up, cause it's snowing in Tootsies. Booked for 3 years, man, you can't even book me. It's me and Lil Baby, this shit going crazy. Weezy produced it, and Weezy have made me. And she held it down, so she got a Mercedes. Your money
So as you saw, Kid of the Great, very talented dancer, and he was discovered, like I said, when he was 12 years old. So him and some other noticeable celebrities like Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes were all under this 16-year age limit that we're saying would be banned from social media. So without this opportunity to really get their name out there and be discovered, these talents wouldn't be available for the whole world to enjoy because they never would have got discovered or famous. So really it's kind of like a global and cultural loss, musically, dance-wise, any other type of art that could be gained through keeping social media with kids. Another problem with banning social media is regulation. How is it going to be regulated? It's something very tough to regulate because it's online. And currently there are about a few different websites, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, they have like a 13-year age limit. But obviously there's kids under 13 that are on it because all you have to do is fake your age and there's really no way for them to tell. So that's a problem with regulation. That would have to be find a way to like double prove your identity, which is going to be a lot of work and just a lot of trouble for social media in general. Although the losses that come with social media and the problems with regulating it are pretty significant, we still feel as a group that banning social media for children under 16, the pros of doing so are going to outweigh the cons and losses.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Fallon, here with the group behind the social media hit for the kids. Their video is about should social media be banned from kids under the age of 16. Here with me, I'm just going to ask you guys a few questions about the production, how the group formation kind of went, just kind of giving that slim down.
So basically we started off by establishing what the team roles are. We read an article called Interacting in Teams and Groups, and we started by establishing what each person is going to do. So we had some people figure out like the schedule, some people do the filming, so like Luke was in charge of the filming and the editing, and then we all each did our own research and stuff. We found that really important to have our own specific tasks so that each job gets done.
Interesting. Can you tell me a bit about the formation of plans, like how you're going to do it, the strategy behind it?
I mean, I could talk about that a little bit. I'd say we kind of like first started with just seeing like what everyone's initial thoughts were on the topic, because none of us had really thought too much about it before. Yeah, we all use social media, but once we really got diving deep, we were like, okay, let's do some research. Didn't really have a firm opinion. The group was kind of split, but once we did the research, we saw it was pretty obvious that we did want to ban social media for children under 16. And then going in with like the group roles, kind of our strategy was just kind of seeing what resources people had. So like I knew like I had some filming equipment and stuff for setting up, so like I just kind of took the role as like the filmer. I know Michael had a lot of ideas and like background research on looking at kind of like the effects, and he took like a psych class, so he was kind of doing like research on that and just kind of bounced back on like what people's prior experiences and resources were. Probably was our strategy.
Interesting. You talked about how it was hard to kind of objectify the topic. Did you have any troubles with anybody having some strong opinions, either or?
I can kind of talk about that. So initially when we had our whole discussion on what take we were going to have, we were very evenly divided on banning and not banning, and I was one of the people who was against banning it to people under 16, and so after doing some prior research and looking through the sources, one that we looked at was Linsky's Get on the Balcony, and it talks about taking an objective perspective and setting yourself apart from the situation. And by doing so, I was able to find more sources, and that somewhat changed my opinion on the topic. And so I think that was very important to the process and like adjusting ourselves to see different perspectives.
Interesting. Michael, in the video, you were Star, I believe, getting bullied, if I recall correctly. Any input from you? You know.
For sure. So I think that while bullying is a hard topic, I think as a team we did a really good job kind of getting together and trusting each other. And so in an article we read, like understanding why people follow, trust was a big thing. And so this project was kind of crunch on time for us to get done. And so initially I think it was important for us to just trust each other, to realize that even though we might have differences of opinions, we're all kind of working together for a common goal. So I was able to trust the rest of my cast and be comfortable in that situation.
I think bouncing off that too, in that same article we read, talking about like meaning and what purpose we're gonna do, and I think part of the reason we really like were inspired to really go ahead and ban it was just seeing physically how it can like hurt children and bullying and the impacts it has. And that one thing to think about is it's only a ban till they're 16. It's not a life ban. So I think if you can prevent like being hurt early on in life, like they're still gonna have these opportunities to use the media, interact, and get themselves out there later on. But you know, children are vulnerable, and I just don't think it's really necessary to have social media when you're that young.
Interesting. Is there anything you guys learned as a group, kind of being together? You know, as I recall, it wasn't exactly you kind of just got smashed together, you know? Anything experience-wise you learned, possibly?
So yeah, we were kind of thrown together. We did a little bit of research about each other to see if we were going to be compatible together. However, we did have a little bit of a phase where we went through some storming, a little bit of conflict with timing and scheduling, make sure everybody can meet up together. But we did end up performing well.
I see, and so did the Oscars. They did nominate you guys. I do remember correctly. Yeah. So best of luck to you. Thank you very much. Good night.